This concept quickly. If anyone in this room is looking for an instructor, a drill instructor, a sergeant or lieutenant to get you through this academy, get up and get out now. It's not going to happen. I'm not here to get you through the academy. That's not my function. It's not my job. My job is to place obstacles in front of you. It's your job to develop a process and how to get through those obstacles and move forward. My job is to make things uncomfortable. Discomfort promotes change, promotes better habits. From there, it's up to you whether you develop the self-discipline to sustain those habits moving forward. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
If you're looking from the outside, for outside factors to get you through this academy, do not come back on the 8th. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of F.I.D.O Talk with Dave Thompson. On today's episode, we're going to dive into integrity. After getting a little bit of feedback from some people, the subject of integrity has come up. And it's come up quite often, honestly. The ability of people to question other people who have some sort of an appointed leadership role or even an assumed leadership role, and integrity and the believability in people and their intentions, their values, their moral compass has definitely come up lately. So today, I think we're going to go ahead and dive right into integrity. And let's start off with a kind of like a definition, like a pure definition of integrity. Well, from what I could pick up, it's a firm adherence to a code, especially of moral values, right? And incorruptibility. Being incorruptible, for lack of a better term here, when it comes to those core values and principles. Staying true to your convictions across the board. But what code, right? Like, what code will you stick to? We all have our own personal beliefs. We all have our own personal thoughts and value systems and moral compass as individuals. But what about the organization or team that you work with or for? Do they have their own organizational code of ethics, their own principles, their own honor system, their honor code? Do they have their own organizational values? And if not, me personally, I would question as to why they don't. And not only do they have them, do they live them? Do they enforce them? Do they hold people accountable to them? And why is having integrity so important in leadership? Well, I never really thought I would have to answer that question. I thought maybe it's just, pretty obvious why you would want to be as trustworthy and transparent as you possibly could, because it promotes trust, right? Being a person of integrity, person of conviction, a person of principles and values, that promotes people to trust that they're getting from you a genuine direction, genuine advice, genuine caring about the individual, caring about the human being. But most and more importantly than all of that, if we're still adhering to our three basic priorities, believability and caring about the overall mission. If the overall mission succeeds, the team succeeds, I succeed. That's how it works. The having integrity and unwavering integrity promotes that. It promotes transparency. Put it all out there. Do not insult the team members or the people in the organization by being disingenuous, by being sneaky, by being shady. It's a slap in the face. The chances are the people in your charge are a hell of a lot more intuitive, creative, intelligent than you would give them credit for by being dishonest or being disingenuous. It's insulting. That is creating, distrust. It's creating second guessing. It's creating a less of believability in the overall mission. Never mind the next objective or next project or the next task coming up. It promotes a kind of underlying sense of, am I really going to put in the time, effort, and energy into something or someone that isn't genuine, isn't honest, isn't above board? Chances are people won't, right? People won't be on board with that stuff. Being transparent, doing and saying what has to be said, right? Setting that example. And sometimes doing and saying what has to be said is tough. It's not fun. It's not what people want to hear. You know what I mean? You're not fucking spraying rainbows and sunshine around. Sometimes people have to hear the hard truths. And it doesn't have to come off, in a dickhead type way. It just has to be said. And it can be said tactfully and respectfully and presented in a way that still maintains respect and tact and that kind of thing. But being transparent sometimes involves some hard conversations. And somebody with integrity has that courage, right? They have the courage to have those conversations, right? And it does, having integrity on a day-to-day, it kind of draws you away from that delusional mindset of, I can bullshit my way through this and everything will be all right. No, it won't. Sooner or later, everything comes out in the wash, right? Everything comes out in the wash. You're going to be exposed one way or another, right? So if you maintain that integrity, you kind of lose that delusional lying to yourself, right? And you're able to do those daily self-assessments, right? Those monthly, quarterly assessments. Not only as important as they are for yourself, they are very important to your teammates, your team members, your organizational, however it's structured. Most importantly, out of that is not being delusional with yourself. Assess yourself. How is the objective, the task, the project, whatever you're working on? How is that going? How are my initiatives playing out? Do the plans need to be retweaked? Does our focus need to shift? Do we need more resources? Are we failing on this level or that level? Have we, done all we could? do we need to, pack it in and start over? If you have integrity, you're going to answer those questions honestly, objectively. You're going to try to get as many sides of that subject, of that problem, that issue as you possibly can before you make your final decision. Absence or being absent of integrity, the chances are you are just going to rely on your own ego, your own narrow-mindedness, to push forward no matter what. You're probably going to, try to make something that isn't there. And in doing so, especially in a team environment, you are going to put people in a very difficult situation. If you're pushing forward in something that lacks integrity or isn't right, but you're pushing that narrative forward, you're putting other people's values, principles, beliefs, integrity in jeopardy. And who the fuck are you to do that? That's pretty selfish. That's feeding your own ego. At the end of it's called the reality principle, right? That's a good principle to look up and to really dive into if you aspire to be an influential teammate or or have any kind of appointed leadership, right? Another asset or another positive of having integrity is you don't have to walk around and blow smoke. You don't have to talk about your honesty. You don't have to talk about values and principles. You'll fucking live them. And that will speak for itself. That example will shine through. It will speak volumes more than standing or sitting or writing things to a bunch of people and pounding your chest and using I, me. And people will see right through that. People will see right through that. And after about the third or fourth me or I, you will probably get tuned out. It serves no one any good. Maintaining your core values, your principles, your integrity is an incredible communicator. And again, it sets the example where you just stand firm in your convictions and people see that. There's no need to expound on that. It's no need to talk about it. There's no need to, puff and pump and pound your chest over it. It definitely lends to staying humble, being open to criticism, to being open to things not going well, being open and receptive and knowing that all great plans shit the bed. They all do. It's very, very rare in the history of the world that anything that has been planned and structured has played out exactly how it was planned. That's an unrealistic expectation. And if you do expect that, and if you do expect that from yourself and or your people, you're on a fucking fool's errand, because it's just not there. With the trust that you gain, you are building a more stable, a feeling of a safer environment, right? And when we talk safe, maybe not, I guess it depends on what industry you're in, right? For certain industries, you're promoting a more stable environment, an inviting environment for people to use that open door policy, right? That open door policy, in my experience, is just a fucking shell. Because as soon as someone steps through that threshold and those people or you hear something you don't want to hear, that door gets closed awful fucking quick, right? It's unless you're coming in again, shitting out rainbows and sunshine and pumping someone's ego, telling them what a great job and all this other happy bullshit. Unless you're doing that, that open door policy turns into butting heads. It turns into contention. And it shouldn't be like that. Or no, it doesn't have to be like that. It just it should be a professional relationship where ideas can be exchanged. Points of view can be taken in. Different perspectives, different experiences, all can be put on the table and included or excluded, if need be, in the plans, the processes, the procedures, however you need to structure your objectives and mission statement, right? If you have integrity, then when you say, I have an open door policy, that means you're willing to accept the good, the bad, the fucking ugly. You're willing to accept the constructive criticism on a very rational, a very cerebral, a very unemotional level. As soon as those things get taken from someone challenging the way things are done to somebody challenging what I said or challenging my integrity or seeing through my bullshit, then it becomes personal. As soon as it becomes personal, it's all over, right? The objective is lost. The objective has definitely been lost. We need to build relationships in organizations. We need to build relationships in teams. And they don't necessarily have to be, kumbaya and sitting around the fire holding hands and reciting fucking psalms. But they do have to be a neutral, professional, respectful relationship. In spite of personal feelings, in spite of emotion, in spite of that stuff, and maintaining integrity, core personal values and principles goes a long way in that. If they're not, if those values and principles, you may have them, if they become compromised, that will really lend to somebody getting right into defensive mode, right? As soon as you get into defensive mode, you're running on emotion. Those tasks, those initiatives, those policies, those plans, procedures, all that shit is out the window at that point. It's a wrap. It is an absolute wrap. What do you do to gain credibility within your teams? So I'm going to take a step back here. Having integrity, having core values and principles, that promotes credibility. And we can go back to maintaining that, staying true to your convictions and setting that example. The problem with credibility is that people tend to have this definition of credibility kind of twisted, right? Where my experiences, what I bring to the table, what I say and do automatically gives me credibility. And in my opinion, that's bullshit. I stay true to my convictions, to what I believe in. And this is just Dave Thompson talking. I'm not speaking for anybody else. I stay true to what I believe in, and I conduct myself in my approach to things based on those values and principles. I don't get to decide whether I'm credible or not. Anybody listening to this, seeing this video, anybody who has heard me speak, has worked with me, they'll decide whether I'm credible or not. That's not up for me to decide. And at the end of the day, their opinion is none of my business. If I get some feedback, if I get some good, honest feedback from someone who shares those convictions and who has this, very similar values and principles, and they give me some honest feedback, and if it's critical or tell me I sucked, well then maybe the way I do things are tweaked and changed, right? That promotes credibility. People decide, other people decide whether I'm credible or not. I don't get to decide whether I'm credible. I just get to work on myself. I just get to maintain my integrity, my convictions, my values, my principles. And at the end of the day, people will decide whether that's credible or not based on their own belief system. So what do we do, or how do we approach dealing with bosses and supervisors, managers who don't promote integrity or don't have it, whether that's real or perceived, right? Because depending upon your organization, if it's layered in bureaucracy and there's it's politicized, the chances of you really knowing where somebody on a much higher level, and when I say higher level, I mean who is way up at the top and I'm at the bottom. The chances of me really having a clear picture and clear understanding of where somebody's convictions are, right? Where their principles and values are, where they lie, without having a one-on-one, because there's an inherent disconnect there. There's an inherent day-to-day disconnect. So what do you do? That's why I say perceived, right? If I have this perception that my top dog, the top person in the organization is disingenuous, that's a perception until I can really sit down, ask what I have to ask to satisfy my questions or my opinions, my judgments. And we'll touch on judgments in another episode, because we all fucking judge, all right? We all judge. You can't form an objective opinion without a bunch of judgments. Drive to work every day. People who drive to work, you make several judgments of other drivers. So stop. Let's stop with the judgment. All right, back on track here. What is your approach, or how do you deal with, or even if it's an overwhelming or a systematic belief or a perceived systematic organization of disingenuous people or lack of integrity? How do you deal with it? I can speak for me. I've had the great fortune of being around some incredible people who have some of the strongest convictions I've ever experienced. I've also had the experiences of working with and for some people who weren't very honest, right? Weren't very trustworthy. And to this day, I still do. There's nothing that I am going to be able to do to influence or affect change in those people. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. That all comes from working from the inside out and other people deciding that they are going to change their approach, right? The only thing that I can do is maintain my own convictions. And if that means that there are things at stake, and it doesn't matter what it is, right? Promotional opportunities, better work assignments, better work projects, better environment, opportunity for travel, anything, any perk or extra that might be at stake that will compromise your own values and principles. It's a matter of what your own personal priorities are. Whatever's on the table. If you understand everything that's on the table versus what you're willing to sacrifice for that, then you can go ahead and make whatever decisions based on all the available information, right? What's at stake? What has to be sacrificed? Is a squeeze worth the juice to you? At the end of the day, it's you and you alone that's going to have to live with those decisions moving forward. Some of that stuff is temporary. In my opinion, and this is, again, just Dave Thompson's opinion, it's my way, not the way, is that my values and principles will come with me to my grave. Anything that anyone can offer me as far as materialistic things, money, all that other stuff, I'm a healthy guy. I can always go make money. That's a non-starter for me. But that's me. And I understand, and nor do I begrudge anybody who makes different decisions than I do. They're just different. We don't have the same experiences. We don't have the same belief systems. We don't have the same thought process, and that's fine. That's all well and good. Does that mean the people are bad? No. If we come back to the beginning here, when we talk about having a code of ethics or code under which you perform or work under, let's look at the opposite side of things, right? Gangsters in the olden days lived by a code, right? Criminal codes, certain prison gangs, certain criminal organizations, they live by codes as well. And some of them some people and individuals within them are very steadfast in their belief in those codes, right? And they maintain their integrity under those codes. It's kind of a fucked up, warped sense of integrity, right? It certainly goes against my beliefs, my personal belief system, but to them, based on their experiences, their upbringing, their, however they were influenced and inspired and to embark on whatever ways they live. Their integrity is impeccable in their eyes, right? So it's a kind of a based on somebody's personal belief system. And if you look through things in that lens, any organization, any religion, any type of anything that has a certain belief system, people will maintain or not maintain their integrity to that belief system or that code or those values or those convictions. And it kind of is what it is. At the end of the day, we have to pick our struggle, right? We have to kind of see where we're at. Are we being true to our belief systems and what we truly, and if we're not, do we really believe in it? Right? Are we just fucking fooling ourselves? Are we lying to ourselves? Are we being disingenuous and lacking integrity to ourselves, first and foremost? Because at the end of the day, we have to fulfill ourselves before we can fulfill anything else or anybody else or any objective and mission statement, right? Which kind of, I know it sounds like we're going against the three basic priorities, right? The overall mission, the team, and then me. But they're very closely aligned. So integrity and values and principles are a very, very personal thing. If you choose to align yourself and surround yourself with people that have less integrity than you would normally hang out with or align yourself with, you're not being true to yourself. So at the end of the day, keep this in mind. General Colin Powell, who has recently passed, one of his famous quotes is very poignant, in my opinion. And it states, leadership is solving problems. The day soldiers stop bringing you their problems is the day you have stopped leading them. They have either lost confidence that you can help them or concluded that you do not care. Either case is a failure of leadership. The chances are that they stop bringing you their problems is because they lost belief in you, right? They lost trust. They have seen something in you as an individual. Chances are it goes against their belief system. If somebody in your charge holds very strong convictions and you have been exposed or you've done something that is disingenuous, that lacks integrity, chances are those people in your charge will stop coming to you and you will have stopped leading. Right? That's the beginning of losing the team, of losing the organization, of losing the climate, the environment in which you hold a position in, a higher position, right? A position of authority. Now, does that mean there's no room for errors? There's no room for mistakes? There's no room for poor judgment? No. But just understand that it's tough. It's a tough hole to climb out of. And getting it back is it's a tough hill. And the chances of you getting it back from everybody are slim. So, there are my thoughts today on integrity. I believe that no matter what, it is imperative. Will you find that you butt heads more? That you leave more on the table? In my experience, in my opinion, yes. They are, in looking at the big picture, in my opinion, they are temporary, right? If you sell your soul to get ahead, you sell your soul. That's on you. And again, most people won't begrudge you. I certainly won't begrudge you. The consequences are yours and yours to carry alone. I choose peace, right? I choose to maintain my integrity, and fully realizing that if those perks and those other things that are on the table, it may take me a lot more work, time, and energy to do it in the manner that satisfies my convictions and my values and my principles, then so be it. Fuck it, right? Again, maintain my health. I can work. I can obtain the things that I want and need. So that's my perspective. Again, just one man's perspective on integrity and maintaining it, and the perils of losing it, or like we all make choices in life, right? And I think integrity and values and principles, I think those are all choices. We choose to believe what we believe. And at the end of the day, we have to live with those choices, right? We are exactly where we're supposed to be based off our choices. So I appreciate everyone listening, and we'll see you again on the next episode of F.I.D.O Talk. And remember, fuck it. Drive on. I want to thank everyone for listening to this week's episode of F.I.D.O Talk with Dave Thompson. If you would, please subscribe and review. It helps a lot. Share the word with your friends and family. Have them check it out and provide some feedback. We'd love to hear it. Check us out at barebonesleadership.com for the latest blog and different perspectives on everything leadership. Follow us on the gram and on our newly updated Facebook page. Share your comments, your thoughts, your reviews. Any and all feedback is always welcome. And don't forget, keep kicking those fucking doors in, and as always, F.I.D.O. I appreciate you guys listening. Take care, and see you next time.